And you see teams today with all this great individual talent, but they don't complement one another. You put them on the floor and you say, what the heck? You know, it was like Giannis, quite honestly, the previous two playoffs, when the Bucks would get behind, he felt like he had to take it upon himself to lift them out of the doldrums. And meanwhile, he's trying to do everything going to the basket. They're collapsing. You got four guys standing around. By that, I mean a single-mindedness. That Milwaukee Bucks team in 71 and the team in 74, even with different pieces. We had Curtis Perry coming off the bench then, who was terrific for us. Mickey had been a bench player. John reverted back. And Fritz Williams, he was a guy we could use as a point guard on the spot.
And you had Lucius Allen, which he got hurt. If he didn't get hurt.
Yeah, but he didn't play. He didn't play in that series because he got hurt. He slipped on a warm-up jacket in Cobo Hall in Detroit.
I think
but I would tell you the big thing with that big thing with that Milwaukee Bucks team was everybody knew the role they were supposed to play. Yeah. So when Kareem knew that Oscar was coming to the team, he stepped back and he basically said, hey, you've earned it in so many words. It's your team. We're all going to do what you want. Oscar was the orchestrator. He had the baton in his hand, and they played as one, not as five individual parts, as one. This year, you saw a different player. You saw he had nine assists in the game 5. I have to check that, but I think that's correct. So he's engaging other players. You get other people involved. That makes for a happy family. You play with a single-mindedness. You play 5 together, and that's what the Bucks did, and that's why they win.
I think that's what that. Because Rob and I talked about it last week in Game 5. Because the last time we did a show was going into Game 4, and I go, the Bucks will win. They're home, and they didn't play necessarily all that good shooting-wise, but they did just enough, and they pulled it out at the end. And I said, a Game 5 has to be a universal effort. It can't just be Giannis. Everybody has to step up, and they were down 16 early, but once they got close, you could see that look in their face, like, now we have a chance. If we can win this, we'll take it home and finish them. And everybody chipped in, like you said, and that's what they needed to do.
That's what they needed to do.
Yeah.
So the Buck story is a great story, and because it was so long ago, unfortunately, a lot of it is overlooked. I mean, I'm sitting in my office right now. I'm looking up at a picture of a game I did. Now stop and think about this. This was an actual game. And in that picture is Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, and Kareem. How about that?
And they say these guys can never.
Could anyone beat that team? I don't know.
No.
I don't think so.
No, I mean the players that I got to cover have slipped by the minds of so many of today's young fans, and they really don't have an idea. And I will say one last thing, and then take your last question. But I will say this: the game is different today. So when people ask me to compare then with now, I say you can't really do that, because we're talking about a game that is an outside in game back then, post players, as opposed to an inside-out game, perimeter game now. And the quality of the player is different in that today's player is bigger, faster, stronger, more athletic. But the guys back in that era were people that knew how to play the game.
That's
the way the game was meant to be played.
Right.
They played it with the skills of the game and with intellect. Today, players, their game is based on what they can do athletically for the most part.
Right.
And the ones that cut the herd, where you separate, is where you integrate quality coaching with smart players who utilize the concepts of today's game and are allowing one another to complement the game and each other at the same time.
You think they rely on threes too much? Because I do.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that again.
You think they rely on 3-point shots a little too much?
Oh, yeah, it's a 3-point game. And I think a lot of that happened when we saw the influx of European players, because even the big players were outside shooters. These guys, they can stretch the floor because they're so adept at shooting the long ball. Mav and Mike Breen used the term downtown a long time ago, and now it's almost added. And, you hear it every time there's a 3-point shot because there are that many 3-point shooters. And I'll give you an example. I was up in Portland doing games in the late 90s, and we had a player from Europe. He was actually from Lithuania. It was Arvydas Sabonis. Lithuania? Yeah, it was
Yeah, I
one
think
of
so.
those. One of those
Sabonis.
Balkan countries.
Yeah, I
His
think
son
so.
plays now.
Yeah,
Excuse me?
His
His
son
son
plays
plays-
now.
Yeah. Well, his son is a fabulous player. Fabulous. But Arvydas Sabonis was a 7-foot, 3-inch guy before he hurt his Achilles. He came over here, he's playing on one leg. He had his Achilles tore at the same one twice in a hospital over there. Got bad medical attention. He was a brilliant player. And I'm telling you, had he played over here in his prime, he would easily be up there with Wilt and Russell and Kareem. And that's how good he was, because he could do everything. And he was smart. He defended, but he could shoot the 3-ball too. And
Yeah,
I
good.
said to myself when he came over here, this guy, I mean, this could be a trend. And here it is. It's a trend. It's big. The big guys, the big guy out there in Denver, brilliant 3-point shooter. I mean, these guys can shoot the 3-ball. So that's the fad. I personally like the game the way it was meant to be played.
Right.
That is intelligently. You run patterns. If you run, you get a chance to run, you run. You rebound. You have a post game with big men that knew how to play the post. And, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the most intelligent athlete I've ever interviewed in my life.
Yeah.
And I've done all the sports. And I would tell you this, to not use the skills of a guy like Kareem would have been a sin, mortal sin.
Mortal.
And so here we are. So here we are now in this era, and we're, the Phoenix in the series that we just saw, they're relying on their 2 deep shooters. Both of them decided too late, that the mid-range shot, that area around the foul line and out, anywhere from 12 to 15 feet, 18 feet. I mean, you could drive Buffalo through there.
Yeah.
Use it, man. So the game was meant to be played. You use all the space on the maple that it allows.
Well, you know what?
You
It's
don't
funny.
see that today.
No, that's right. And like in 1981, when it first came in, the players were still, if they knew it was a novelty in a sense and only need to be used when you absolutely needed it, they would always do all the fundamental things first. They knew better. And as time went on, they started getting away from that because they looked good, on ESPN, making that big 3 at the buzzer. And so and then when Curry came, it even got worse because everybody thought they could do what he did.
Yeah.
And I mean, but the players back then were more fundamental. There's no doubt about it. And they knew, okay, we use it. We have to. I heard Jerry West on a interview, and James Worthy did the interview on the radio. And he goes, what was my rule with you guys back then in the 80s? No 3 points allowed. And yet the Lakers and Celtics were the greatest teams of the 80s. There's no doubt about it.
Well, of course, even back into the set, there wasn't a 3-point shot. That didn't come in until 76. I think it was 76.
Well, no, 81.
81?
Yes,
81
because the Celtic was the first one ever to make it.
We used to do exhibition games against ABA teams.
Right.
And that was kind of fun to go in there and watch a guy like McLaughlin light it up because he was a pure shooter. A guy like Brian Winters, another New York.
We're going to have him on, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it would have been a different game for them, too. So there's no doubt that the 3-point game has changed things. But you know what? Here's the thing, guys. What was then was then. What is now. We got to learn to enjoy what we got. And these are brilliant athletes. What we've got now are brilliant athletes. I mean, and what we see and the way television enhances these guys and the production they work with the telecast. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's great entertainment. And you know what? Enjoy it. Just enjoy every minute of it. That's what they're doing in Milwaukee today. They had a hell of a parade.
Yeah, that was a great run. I mean, what do you think about that whole thing and how they beat the Nets? And
I thought it was terrific. I mean, who knows how it would have turned out if Kyrie were available? Who knows?
Yeah, right.
But that's the way the game goes. I mean, they played with the Bucks play without their starting guard, Dante DiVincenzo.
Right.
He did not play. He was hurt. He had surgery. So they're playing without one of their starting 5 people. People filled in. They had a different kind of a rotation. You get Connaughton coming off the bench and giving him a lift for a few games.
Right.
What this guy John Horst, did with constructing this team and filling in with pieces like Bobby Portis, Tucker, Bryn Forbes. You didn't see Bryn Forbes. He's a brilliant shooter. He's on the pine. He didn't play the last couple of games. What he did, and then brings in Drew Holiday. Oh, geez, stop it. This guy, you talk about an unsung hero, Holiday.
Right.
He was my favorite because you know why? He combined today's game with yesterday's game. Smart player. And he can do it. He making left-hand passes up the baseline, incredible moves, and play defense. A lot of guys don't want to sacrifice their offense for defense. He does.
Yeah, I was going to say, did somebody help Giannis? Did he work on that foul shot in the last game? Because he sure didn't miss any.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about Kareem? I think the light line, not Kareem, but
oh, there it is.
You're talking about
Giannis.
16 for 19, I think, right?
Yeah, right. Something like that.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It's beautiful. Fellas, I've enjoyed
Eddie, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, listen, come back whenever you want. When you have more time, we'd love to hear all your stories because you've done so much.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and good luck to you guys, okay?
Take care, Eddie.
You.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Eddie.
Eddie Doucette, folks.
That was Eddie Doucette.
Play-by-play announcer for the Bucks for 16 years.
Yeah, we tried to get as many questions in as we could. We kept him on longer than he thought he was going to be on, actually, but which is good. I mean, that wasn't enough. He could. I wanted to ask him about the years with my brother, and I couldn't even do it.
Well, I sure hope he comes back, Bob, because he brought a really great energy to the show, and I want to hear some more quips where he uses his professional voice.
Right, and he almost went to Syracuse. You got to like that. And by the way, Syracuse.
The Newhouse School of Broadcasting is typically the number 1 school in the country. We don't speak about that other school, Northwestern.
I was going to say I thought Northwestern was.
Syracuse, typically neck and neck for the tops.
They have a great program. That's what I was trying to say. He went to Broad. He did everything. We didn't even scratch what he didn't talk about baseball. He didn't talk about anything else. He's worked with other NBA teams. And I like the fact that he mentioned the Knicks PA announcer because I actually watched an oldies Buck game on YouTube just to hear the guy announce the starting players because he was that good. And, I still can hear his voice in my head. I mean, he was so good. Like even when somebody like goaltended, he'd go, that was goaltending. And it was like so funny when he said, but he was the best PA announcer out there. And I hate the Knicks, and I'm telling you that. But
we had a visitor to the show, Bob, TW. He retracted his message, surprisingly, but we didn't get a chance to let Eddie know that TW thought that Eddie Doucette will always be the face of broadcasting for the Bucks.
Because he is. I mean, he's still there. He's got the fund, which it's the MAC fund.
The MAC fund, MACC fund. Check it out, folks. See if you can contribute and help out.
Right, and I'm sure he'll appreciate that. But we'd love to have him back, and I hope he comes back. I believe he will.
So stay tuned for a potential part 2 with Eddie Doucette, folks. Other guests to come.
We're going to go see Derek Jeter, are we not, in September?
We will be at the induction of Derek Jeter at Cooperstown, the Baseball Hall of Fame, having live streams there, hopefully getting direct interviews with players, hopefully Derek Jeter himself. You never know. Right. Keep the fingers crossed.
Well, my brother's going to be with him. He's going to go see him, so I think that's a pretty good bet. And we have the big show with Jordan and Nigel Miguel coming on, and now
we're going to have a panel of guests on that show, folks. The Belize Film Commissioner Nigel Miguel, who created Space Jam, who now you saw Space Jam 2 come out. We're going to have a panel of guests. It's going to be one of the all-time great shows here.
Yeah. Oh, there's no doubt. We Nigel is already coordinating the whole thing. So, and we'll ask him about the new space. We both saw it. You saw it, Rob, right?
I did. It was good. The new Space Jam was definitely entertaining. I thought LeBron did a pretty damn good acting job.
He was actually good in the other movie that I saw with, I think, Amy Schumer in it. He played Amy Schumer's boyfriend's best friend, and he played himself, but he can act. I mean, he's good. He's character, you know.
Absolutely. Well, Bob, that was a fun one, a short but sweet deal. But we'll have more to come. Signing off with the Sports Show with Bob Spino. This is Rob.
This is Bob. Have a nice day, everybody.